like to welcome Ms. Arundhati Mukherjee.
Thank you for having me. We will discuss transformation at a higher level and patient acquisition of new patients or maintaining relationship with existing patients. This is broadly the area that we are going to talk about. But transformation has become such an imperative, and it has multiple elements to it, and so we will touch on a few other elements as well. I'm the former director of Aaroh. Aaroh is a startup of about 3.5 years old, and we have graduated from marketing. We were earlier focused on marketing, and we have moved to technology or finance recently. Quickly introducing Aaroh, we are helping organizations in redefining their audience strategy. A lot has changed in the last 2 years, yes, but even before that, disruption was becoming a norm. We are working with SMEs only, no large organizations. We work in the range of up to about 300 crores goes to about 20 crores as well. And we are helping organizations build the top line, scale their operations, and optimize their bottom lines. Why transform? Automation is the norm now. People are open to new options and services. Most people have gotten used to new elements to their services today, and that is what we are seeing, people getting comfortable with that, and they're expecting. So if you don't have new choices, new options, then they consider you old. Large hospitals are highly automated. So if you are looking at, if you are looking at competing David versus Goliath, that's only possible if you automate at a similar level. Automation is becoming more cost-effective and ROI oriented. SMEs are becoming more interested in automation because automation is no longer that huge element which costs a lot of money, or there are multiple tools and multiple models that are available, which is making technology more democratic, more agnostic to whether you have capital or you have thoughts and intent. So that is where automation is today. Intent is extremely important. If you have to look at automation, it is becoming more important than capital. The pace of automation is becoming faster and faster. So if you are not keeping pace, very soon it will be challenging for you to move to a different level. Small bites is better than leaving it for the future. It builds on existing credibility to improve connect and increase touch points. So you are able to build on SMEs generally have long histories, and they have a long presence. So you are able to build on your existing credibility to improve your connect and increase touch points. So this is why we need to transform. I'll just quickly take you to some of the case studies of in the health sector that we have worked on, and what we did, and how we created some impact. If you are having any thoughts, any questions, any anything that you want to ask, I'm happy to answer right away, rather than, because each of these case studies are very, very different. So if you have any queries regarding this, please feel free to unmute yourself. I'm not watching the chat, so if you can unmute yourself and talk, that would be I'll be happy to explain any of the questions. So this is a chain of 3 hospitals, 2 in Calcutta, 1 in Jaipur. 2 of them are multi-speciality. One is a super specialty is a cardiology hospital, and 2 of them are general hospitals, 2 multi-speciality. Altogether, they have about 900 beds. So two of them, one super specialty and one multi-specialty, were old hospitals, and one multi-specialty was a new hospital. So it's a mix of new and old hospitals, and the old hospitals are more than 50-60 years old, so they have extremely strong brand. However, the even while having a brand, the new hospitals are taking away their patients on a regular basis because they were considered an old brand, old technology, old. So the perception was, that is what was a perception. The new hospitals came about close, within the 5-kilometer radius, and it was hard for them to compete with them with the perceptions that were already existing. So what we did was we created a brand-led approach. Earlier the hospitals had multiple brands. They had different brands. They were locally called differently. Their actual name was something. They were called, the locality, the community used to call them with a different name traditionally, and they never bothered to change anything like that. Both the hospitals had different names, though the ownership was same. So what we did was we created a brand-led approach. We created a single brand. It was very tough for us to get people in those organizations to accept. While the leadership understood, it was challenging for us to get people they were attached to their own brand. Those two hospitals were old, and in a way they were very different. One was a super specialty, one was a multi-specialty, but in a way they used to have some small competitions among each other, whose occupancy was higher, whose who got more visible patients, or very marquee patients, and little competitions they had, and that's why they were attached to their brand. So when we were consolidating, we had to deal with a lot of internal questions, etc. And we created multiple touch points. They were very patient focused. Patient comes, shows the doctor, works with the doctor to get a diagnosis, then either gets admitted or goes home and does his treatment, comes back, and that's it. Full stop. And you get better, you go home, and nothing else. So the next time that the patient gets ill or needs a doctor, it's a completely new. It's like acquiring a new patient. So we also worked on creating different touch points with clients, with patients, and we also were showing the difference and pedigree of this hospital and how they have managed to stand the test of time and yet bring in so many new things to the city in terms of healthcare. We were showing through the history how that hospital was always at the cutting edge. So we created those positive transformation stories all across the timeline that they had. So what we could do because of that was that we were able to attract very strong doctors from the city, doctors with very strong credentials, administrators. At the one of the things that is becoming very important in the hospital scenario is the doctors who have moved into the admin area, the CEO of the hospital, or that kind of patient management. So it requires an understanding of medicine, but these are not practicing doctors or clinicians. So we were able to attract some very strong people from the community, from the doctors community. We were able to attract some very visible patients, some high-profile patients from yesteryears, so that it gave we had some very free PR presence because of that. And because of these things, because of big doctors moving or some patients coming, some very visible patients coming in, there was a lot of word of mouth and in the media as well as among people, and it was shown as rebirth of those hospitals. And at each point in time, we were able to create some touch points for these patients, and to retain these patients beyond their beyond their treatment, and some of the functions like the heart, kidney, which are long-term long-term treatments. We were able to create a model which was very comfortable for the patients, and brought the patient in multiple times to the hospital. So both ways, it was a win-win situation where there was no insecurity. The patients were feeling much more secure about their treatment. They had an understanding, and they had a go-to person, and they understood why they were going through a specific treatment or not another specific treatment. And so they were able to trust and have a relationship where when people are not well, they are very insecure. So they were able to have that security with the hospital. So this was something that we did to modernize the the perception of the hospital, to improve the usage of their OPDs and their beds, etc. I'm just talking about three completely different types of healthcare organizations, so that you get a wide understanding of what all are the possibilities in this segment, which has a lot of restrictions. You cannot go and market a healthcare product or service like you market, let's say, soaps and oils and shampoos. There are a lot of restrictions, and therefore, I hope that these case studies will give you some understanding of how marketing can be used innovatively to deal with all those issues, and yet reach your patient base in a more constructive manner. So Spectra ENT Diagnostics and Therapy, this is a organization which is doing diagnostics and therapies relating to ENT issues like speech, hearing, occupational therapy, vertigo. So these are the things that they handle, and it is backed by very senior doctors. It's a startup. It's a new organization. It's a 1-year-old startup. Very senior doctors in the space of ENT have set this up to get more evidence-based practice and ethical practice in this area, and that is their objective. So what we have done is we have created a model for doctors to see value in referring patients to Spectra rather than to other organizations, other such diagnostic centers. We have differentiated very strongly with the technology, the technology that they're using in terms of hardware, as well as our marketing outreach programs to create a model for the doctors to think that to understand that this is a different kind of a diagnostic center, which is looking to give a better experience to their patients. Many of these patients, almost 90% of these patients are in the age group of 70 plus. There's only 10-15% of the patients which are less than 65, 68 is the maximum. The rest are all above 70%. So those category of patients require a different kind of treatment. So we have been able to differentiate between different other organizations and Spectra. And we have, it's a very established area. They are a startup, but there's nothing innovative about them. They are a new organization. That's why, maybe we should not call it a startup. It's a new organization, but we have been able to create some disruption in a very old-fashioned area, using a combination of good practices in their in their handling of patients, and in connecting with the patients in the areas that they are insecure at the time that they're insecure, and assure them of our ability to assure them of stronger support in hearing, for example, is a very old age makes people very insecure that they won't be able to hear at all, and then they will have to people will have to speak to them loudly, and they won't be able to take part in family events, and they won't be able to hear anything during the family events. They won't be able to hear their grandchildren talking to them. So these are the kind of challenges that they have, and we have been able to create some best practices in the way they handle patients, so that, and the way they talk to patients, so that people feel comfortable. Older people feel comfortable about how they are getting treated there. What we have achieved because of this is a strong digital presence. They are this is still work in progress. Of course, digital presence is always work in progress. You can always do better than where you are, but we are in the path to creating a very strong digital presence where people see and feel comfortable about the support that they get. Integrated patient management. We have worked with them from a technology perspective to ensure that the patient is supported by them across the life cycle of the patient. And these are, when they're hearing impaired or such other, these are generally long-term. You don't really, it stays with you. It requires you to keep coming back. So what we have done is we have created an integrated patient management models, using which people are able to keep in touch with the patient and the audiologists, etc. They are in touch, and they're able to anticipate the requirements and propose solutions before they even realize that it is required, to both the patient and the caregiver. So this has also given rise to new patient walk-ins and calls because of the digital presence and the kind of feedback they're getting a lot of walk-ins and calls. And they have also launched, responding to the requirement of some of these patients. They have also brought in innovations like home service, and some of these home services have never been done earlier because of the need for soundproof rooms, the variety of equipment that is required. So we have encouraged them to think of disruptions that is required. Old people find it difficult to come to the clinics, to the centers. So we have worked with them to identify what more can be taken to their home. So this is the kind of patient management that we have helped them to develop, so that they are able to be where the patient is, and make it less inconvenient for the patient to take the service that they are looking for. Any thoughts, any questions? Anybody who has done something like this before? It will be good to know, good to understand from others. If for me also, it will be learning. You have been in the sector much more deeply than I have been. I'm a a kind of a outsider looking in. But if you have any thoughts, any disruptive ideas, it will be good for all of us in the cohort to understand. This is a platform to share and learn from each other. So it will be good to, I'm kind of 100% sure that you know more about this sector than I do. So it will be good to share and learn. Anyway, I'll move forward. So we did something for a cardiology department of a well-known hospital in Melbourne. Hospitals, private hospitals in many countries, they outsource a department to a different company, which is a specialist company. So this is what they have done. They are resident within the hospital, but they are like an independent company who rents hospital space from them, and so it's run almost like a private practice within hospitals. This is a private hospital, large private hospital in Melbourne, but their cardiology department is a much smaller, of course, department than the bigger hospital. And this is a cardiology hospital, and so once a cardiology patient always needs care. And what we have done is worked with them on two things. One is to reduce the lack of reduce the anxiety related to heart disease that the patients have. So those were huge concerns, that patients came in with a lot of anxiety. Every time that they came in, it was not a pleasant experience for them. They came in thinking, I'm going to die tomorrow or something like that. So the doctor can't do much for me. I'm just spending a lot of money. I'm anyway, this is not going to last too much. So those are the kind of anxieties that people have, and this is a private clinic in a place where the community of people above 70 is pretty high. So these are the kind of anxieties that were there. So we tried to understand the entire life cycle and interventions required for patients with heart disease. First of all, we tried to understand where the interventions are required. Where is it that the patient needs care, wellness advice, mental counseling, etc., etc. So we identified the multiple interventions required. We created standardized communications, of course taking their help. We are not the experts here. We work with the cardiologists and mental health counselors, etc., wellness counselors, to create the communications around the interventions required. We created automated models to deliver the communication as per the timing. The people, the administrators within the organization could trigger off some of these communications, and we were able to give them a model where they were monitoring patient health, outliers, alerts, and our alerts came up when there were outliers and concerns. There were a lot of places where there were alerts, so that even though they were handling many patients, they were able to identify who needed urgent attention, or who was going as per the plan. So bring them back to the hospital as per the requirement, anticipate problems well in advance. So these are the kind of alerts, triggers, regular communications that we were able to automate with the patients to ensure that the entire people with heart disease were staying in touch with the hospital and with the clinic, hospital, whatever you call it, with the and they were less anxious and they were living their life a little bit more happily, rather than being always conscious about what to eat, what they can do, what they can't do, how much of stress can their heart take, what they can't take. So these were communications which we created, like FAQs, etc., using which they were what it did was it created long-term relationship with patients. They graduated from one program to another, and it was a win-win again, of course. As they took more services from the organization benefited, but patients were also more secure and connected to the community within the hospital, to the wellness experts, the mental health counselors, to the cardiologists, to the various types of cardiologists. So they were more connected, and therefore they were able to access them better. And they knew that at any point in time somebody was watching them, watching over their vitals, and that's why there was more comfort that this very insecure group, above 70 with heart disease, it's a lot of insecurity or a lot of anxiety that people have at that level. So this is what we were able to achieve it was a combination of marketing, communications, technology to achieve this. So that's all in terms of the case studies. The thoughts that we had was about what should organizations do, what should health related organizations do, what are the approaches available. So today automation is the road to scaling your organization, is the way to beat the or even surviving the onslaught of these highly automated, highly professional, large organizations, which a lot of people do not like to go to, but they are forced to go to. So you may have a better service, and but people don't know about it, and therefore the brand pull is much higher, and therefore they are able to attract more patients. However, even patients who do not really want to go to such large hospitals, they feel lost, they feel that they are not being the focus on them is lower. Smaller organizations, smaller hospitals, they will get more focus. So that said, there are tools, and there is technology, and there is wherewithal to automate at all levels, like patient acquisition. And I'm not taking the very high-tech medical procedures, right, robotics and things like that. I've not included that. I'm looking at more of operations and patient management, etc. I'm not looking at the medical interventions. So that is a different story altogether. But here I'm talking about more of patient acquisition, patient management, the business part of hospitals being as sensitive as they are. So that is what we are trying to look at. So patient acquisition, definitely, there's a lot has changed over the last, how patients were acquired in the last 10 years back and now, or even 5 years back and now. So things are changing so fast. COVID has been a huge disruption. Patient management, patient occupancy, wellness programs, maintaining profitability. These are all aspects that can be automated. It would be good to take a break right now and try and understand what all you are doing to automate at your end. We have a small little poll. Put in your thoughts on which are the functions that you have automated in your hospital. You can check more than one. These are very simple questions. What are the functions which you have automated? How easy or difficult is it to build credibility with the new large hospitals coming in your close visibility? How easy or difficult is it to get new patients? What do you do to get new patients now? Easy. We've had 6. A couple of more would be good. Okay, so we will discuss. So there's a significant amount of automation that is being done. If you see in the area of patient management and pharmacy, where we are still lacking is post-hospitalization and wellness, which is what we were discussing, that the entire life cycle is not being managed. Roster for doctors and nurses, and business analytics about occupancy and return on each bed. This is extremely important that it is automated to ensure that the hospital itself is healthy, right? And we have seen this as a problem, in many areas where the focus on analytics is lower. The focus on understanding which part of the hospital is doing better than the others, which part of the hospital needs more focus, which part of the hospital we are not having credibility in. So BI, occupancy, understanding of where is it that the money is coming from, how we are perceived, where do the patients come from, and which specialties they're coming to, which specialties they're not coming to. These are things that will help improve the organization as a healthy organization, and therefore it's extremely important. Post-hospitalization care and wellness is a huge opportunity for hospitals. Nobody, there are multiple specialties in a hospital where the scope for post-hospitalization care and wellness is very, very high. So there's a missing opportunity that you have there for 2 things: for improving the health of your organization, as well as to make your patient more comfortable and more secure in the kind of support that you are giving to them, right? So there's a huge missed opportunity in the post-hospitalization care and wellness that is there for you. You have the patient, you have the relationship. Continue the relationship rather than drop them the moment they pay their bill and walk out of the hospital, or and they come for a couple of checkups in the OPD after the inpatient session, and then they go away. So these are huge opportunities. If you see roster for doctors and nurses, yes, creates scalability. Post-hospitalization is a huge opportunity, and business analytics again is another big opportunity to understand the health of the organization. Today we are doing a lot of things on the gut feel. You'd be surprised to see how data can change your decisions. So data-based decision-making systems are available, are low cost, are easy to implement, and will give you insights which can take your hospital from where you are to a very different level altogether in terms of profitability, in terms of health of the organization. I'm not talking business analytics can give you also understanding of where to market your organization more, which areas of organization, how to market. So this gives you a very strong overview about your future strategy. So if you do not have, if only 50% has an understanding, that's something that is an opportunity for change. How easy or difficult is it to build credibility with the large hospitals coming in? 50% said that it is hard. I would love to hear, I think those who have marked as hard would love to hear from those who have marked easy. If you are willing to share your formula for success, that would be very good learning for all of us. If you would like to share now, that's great. If you would like to share later, that's also fine. How easy or difficult it is to get new patient? It is same as earlier, it's half and half. It is hard. And so most organizations are using word of mouth, digital marketing, and doctor brands to attract new patients. So this is something that is the norm that is required, that we need to get patients from use multi-channel and omni-channel approach to getting new patients, and successful organizations who are able to build credibility in multiple platforms are the ones who are getting there earlier. So stop sharing. Okay. So these are the areas where organizations can look at automating. Of course, every organization comes with their own in the maturity scale where they are, and therefore it becomes an analysis as to which one. You can't do everything together. So what do you do first? What do you do second? How do you stagger these things? What have you already done? What is the kind of scope that it has to be improved? Those are the kind of decisions that need to be taken. And as I was mentioning, that decisions based on data can yield better results than decisions taken on the basis of gut feel, experience, etc. So it would be good to have you. There are two things that we would like you to think about. What are the disruptions in the hospital segment? List some disruptions that were already there in 2019 or so. Some disruptions that happened because of COVID. How are you doing things differently in the hospitals where the worst affected during COVID? What are the learnings from there, and what are you doing to adapt to the future of hospitals? What are the lessons learned, and what are the disruptions that you have seen, and how are you moving forward? Are most of you from the hospital segment, or are you some of you in the hospitals, organization that support hospital, for example, software, or hardware or automation in health procedures? So are most of you from the hospital segment or from the other segments?
So most of the invitees are like from the hospital segment only, and yeah.
So Pratyush, would you like to do this exercise now, or how do you want to do this?
I think in the interest of time, we can probably share this, with all the attendees as well as the people who had registered and could not join. And then maybe one-to-one we can connect with them, and once we have received the responses, we'll get back to you. Is that okay? Or
yeah. No, absolutely fine. So this is fine. So it would be good to know we are a cohort-based program. So we can all learn from each other's successes and each other's failures, and that is the advantage that any cohort-based program has, that we're learning from people who are in your segment, and there's a lot of learning that you can have from their own segments. So just a quick couple of slides on Aaroh. We are a consulting organization with strong domain understanding. We bring in best practices from Fortune 100 companies. We have adapted those for SMEs and working successfully with we have worked successfully with over 40-50 SMEs in the past 3.5 years. We the kind of rigor that we bring into SMEs is very different from how SMEs are used to working. And the rigor that we bring in also does not allow us to work with a large number of clients, but we have been very happy to work with 30 or 40 clients in the last 3 years, which have been very strong relationships that we have nurtured for impact to their top lines, bottom lines, and the way they operate. We have over 150 years of cumulative experience within the organization in some of the best brands in the world. Other than that, we have a very strong advisory board and ecosystem. And we are ROI or outcome-based or impact-based organization. And these are some of our clients. Health. We have worked with Spectra, as we were talking to you, Victorian Heart and Lung Clinic. We have worked with USAID and ABT on health projects, with NGOs who work on health projects. So these are some of the organizations we have worked with, and these are some of the contact details. And on my end, if any of you have any questions, any thoughts, any learnings that we could take away from here, that would be great. You show it to you.
So everyone, in the interest of time, if you have any queries, you can type here. Alternatively, we will be sending out a mail to all the attendees after the session with the presentations. So you can have a look at that. Arundhati ma'am, if you can share your email ID then in the chat box, then people can get in touch with you directly should they have any queries for which they would like answers. And for others, if you would like any sort of support whatsoever, then please do reach out to us. We'll be there. Okay. That being said, I thank you, Ms. Arundhati, for the wonderful session. We urge all of you to take the knowledge and understanding that you got today and implement the same in your respective hospitals and institutions. We will share with you the template to plan the next steps, and we also request you to take advantage of the pro bono one-to-one support that we are extending as a part of TransformHealth. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, and I'm sure the audience got a number of great insights. Thanks a lot for your time and for the session.